This is a lesson on multiplying a 3-digit number by a 1-digit number. Now this is going to be almost identical to multiplying a 2-digit number by a 1-digit number lesson a couple lessons ago, but we have one extra digit in there, so it's just one extra step for each of the strategies. They are, in fact, the same strategies as well, so this should be oddly familiar to you. So we're going to use the example of the following to look at each of the strategies. It says, Mr. Martel arranged his class into 3 groups for an activity. Each group needs a piece of string 145 centimeters long. How much string in total does Mr. Martel need? So this is going to be the multiplication of 145 times 3. Okay, because I know this, because I know that he has 3 groups, and each group needs this amount. So we're multiplying this by 3. So the first strategy, just as you did in lesson 5, is to use base 10 blocks. So when I'm using base 10 blocks, I needed to add the hundreds in there. The hundreds block, remember that's a square. So what you need to do is you need to multiply. You need to show 145 times 3. So we have 145 right here. See 100, and then there's 10, 20, 30, 40, and then 5 ones. And we need to show that 3 times, like that. Okay, and then what you do is multiply the hundreds, multiply the tens, and multiply the ones, and then add them together. So over here we have 3 hundreds, sorry, 3 hundreds. So that would be 3 times 100, which equals 300. Then in the tens place, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and we have 4 3 times. So that's not just regular 4 though, that is 40, remember that. 10, 20, 30, 40, 40 3 times. So we go 3 times 40. Now 3 times 4 is 12, and put the 0 at the end to get 120. And the last one is multiplying by ones. We've got 3 groups, and there's 5 in each group. So that would be 3 times 5, and 3 times 5 is 15. Then all we have to do is add these 3 numbers together. So 300 plus 120 plus 15 is 435. Okay, so that's the same as saying 145 times 3 equals 435. Now strategy number 2 is using expanded form. So you'll remember this from lesson 5 as well. So first you want to write the number in expanded form, that is the bigger number. So 145, you can write as 100 plus 40 plus 5. That's expanded form. We did this in a whole unit before. Then what you will do is multiply the hundreds, the tens, and the ones by 3. So you will go 3 times 100. You will go 3 times 40. And 3 times 5. So we've got 300, 120, and 15 again, just as we did up there. It's the same numbers, but a different way of arriving at them. And then we just add them all together like we did above again. So that would be 300 plus 120 plus 15 equals 435. Now remember, in the last lesson, there was another way to write this. We are going to use that same way to write this with the 3 digits. So the 3 can be on either side, here or here, it doesn't matter, but we're going to use the same order with whichever we use in this expanded form. So we'll go 3 times the 100 plus 3 times the 40 plus 3 times the 5. And you can see that here, 3 times 100 plus 3 times 40 plus 3 times 5. There's our 300 plus 120 plus 15, and that equals 435. So Again, 3 times 145 is 435. Now these are just 3 different ways that you could use to multiply. There are other ways as well, so if those work for you and you get the right answer, unless that's using a calculator, then you go ahead. You cannot use a calculator in this lesson because I already know you know how to find 3 times 145 with a calculator. This is using it without one. All right, and that brings us to the last strategy of breaking the number apart. So basically what we just did, but with less writing, because technically you wouldn't write all of this part, you would just write here. But this is the explanation. So first we go and multiply, or well, first, I guess I should say you put the bigger number on top of this smaller number, and then you focus your attention on the ones, and then the tens, and then the hundreds. So 3 times 5 is 15, and I write it right here, making sure to line up the ones with all of the ones places. Okay, and the tens with the tens places. Then I need to multiply the tens next. So I would go 3 times 40. Remember, that's not just 3 times 4. We have to remember that this 4 represents 40. So 3 times 4, you could think to solve it would be 12. And then don't forget that 0 at the end for 120. And then the very last one is to multiply the hundreds. So 3 times 100. Imagine those are now zeros, which equals 300. And then we add those together just as we have for all the other strategies of 5 here, and then 1 plus 2 is 3, and 1 plus 3 equals 4 for 435. Okay, if you need to see any of those strategies again, then please rewind the video and watch them. If you feel confident that you could practice these strategies, then we will do the practice. So please pause the video now, and once you've completed each of these, then play the video and follow along with me. Okay, so the first one is showing the expanded form, and you have to find the missing number, which you did this 2 lessons ago in your assignment. You'll be doing it again, but we'll be practicing it this time. So we have 723 times 6, and then we have the expanded form. So you'll notice that this is 700 here. So that means that the first number in each of these is going to be the expanded form of 723 in their respective order, which means that the second number is always going to be 6. And you'll notice that this one has 6, this one has 6. So that means the square here would represent 6. If I can get my marker to work. There we go. And so there is the 6. Okay, and then this sun then would be part of this 723. So we have 700, so this one's good. We have 3, so that one's good. So that means that, now don't get tricked, this does not equal 2, it equals 20. So 20 would go right here. Okay, next up we've got multiplying 2 different numbers. So the first one I will show expanded form. Actually, I'll show, because we just looked at expanded form up here, we'll do base 10 blocks for this one. So we've got 396, and so that means that I need to have, to show 396, I'm going to need, 300s. I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ones. And I'm going to need to show this 5 times. Okay, so I've written it 5 times right here. So while I use my computer magic and copy and paste it, but that's besides the point. And now I need to multiply. So it's always going to be times 5, right? So 5 times here, 5 times here, and 5 times here. So here I have 5 times and then groups of 300. So that would be times 300. Over here, I have 5 times and then groups of 90. So that would be 90 here. And on the end, I have 5 groups of 5. So 5 times 3 equals 15. And then I need to put those 2 zeros on the end. 5 times 9 equals 45. And I'll put that 0 on the end there. And then at the end here, I've got 5 times 5, which is 25. Now, since these are a little bit bigger numbers, I'm going to write them one on top of the other like we learned in one of our previous units when we're adding multiple numbers that are larger. Oops, that's not a straight line. There we go. So adding those 3 up, and I will get 5 down here. 7 tens, 9 hundreds, and 1,000. So that tells me that 396 times 5 equals 1,975. And so that's one of the strategies that you can use to help you solve. If this one works for you, then go ahead and use it. Now let's look at the breaking the numbers apart strategy, that strategy number 3. So I will write the larger number on top of the smaller number, and then I will multiply one at a time. So first, I've got 3 times 6, and that equals 18. So I will write the 1 in the 10 spot and the 8 in the 1 spot. Okay, so I've done 6. Then I've got 3 times 40. So 3 times 40, I can go 3 times 4 equals 12. And I know that the 1 is going to be in the 100 spot. The 2 is going to be in the 10 spot. And then since this is 40, there's an imaginary 0 there. It goes right there. Okay, so I've done the 4. And now all I need to do is 3 times 100. So 3 times 100 equals 300. Now this is almost the same as our example up there, isn't it? Well, it's not right there. It was 145. So this should be 3 more than the previous answer. Let's see if it is. So add these all up. 8 plus 3 plus 4, 438. Whoops, that's terrible boxing. Boxing my answer here, 438. Let's just go ahead and look at that example there, 438. And look at that, 435. That is 3 less. I just put random numbers, and that's how that worked out. So, all right. So this is your assignment here, but before I get to that, you need to know that you're going to have a mid-unit quiz on multiplication after you're done this lesson. So after you're done the textbook assignment and the BLM, then you will have a quiz so that we can see if you're ready for division. Okay, so your assignment is on page 297 to 298, and it's numbers 1 to 4 and 9.